Well, I think it's always quite humbling, and it's quite impressive when the audience, or when you do something, the audience wants more of something, especially when you put so much work and love into a property. So when the studio came back and asked us to expand out with an ancillary project, we really put our heads together, and Lionsgate and Basil Iwanek had this script called Ballerina. And because we had some kind of thread with the Ruska Roma in John Wick 3 and 4 with ballerinas and the director's place in the orphanage, we thought that was a very good tie-in, so we started for that. So the first thing was, okay, what character, what POV are we taking this from? And through Shay Hatten's script, it was a ballerina who had lost her family, and that was the idea that started it. So then we went on the search and we found Ana de Armas, and I was a big fan of hers way back from even before Bond. When we had the talk about what was going to be required to be, literally the lead of a John Wick style film with the action and the mythology, that was a big concern. Or do you have somebody that has the inspiration, the aspiration to do something like that? And you could just see Anna's eyes light up. She's like, yes. And everybody says yes until you get to the training facilities and stuff. So then you get there and you see the character start coming alive week after week of the training of the guns, the martial arts, the stunt work. And you can see her eyes getting bigger and bigger every time, and you're like, okay, we've got the right person. So in fact, the more training we did with her, the more we could expand the parts, the more we could expand the mythology, and the more we could just, it's just like with the formula we used with Keanu Reeves. The more Keanu expanded, the more his skills got better, the more he got deeper and deeper into the mythology, the more fun we could have with the character. So when you have somebody like Ana de Armas, who's that enthusiastic about the training and the character, has that little nod to humor, who gets the tone of what we're trying to do, then the sky's the limit. We can keep writing, we can keep developing and choreographing to expand the universe as much as we can without it feeling false or forced, or like we're just trying to, for the sake of doing more business, to try and just add on to the franchise. So I think you get a uniqueness, you get a different kind of authorship, you certainly get a different flavor and perspective than we would have done myself or Keanu in that, because we had an opportunity to expand out with a character who is literally just becoming. Anna's character in the film, she's just being exposed to the world, so the audience gets a fresh perspective on what the John Wick universe is like. Again, when we sit down and we start doing the action design concepts for a film, it's never quite, we don't write on a big whiteboard going, stay practical, no CG. Like, we're happy to slide in and out. For us, it's all sleight of hand. We want the audience to believe in the character. When you see Keanu, you're not just seeing John Wick, you're seeing Keanu Reeves as John Wick perform things. And I think all people like seeing something very intricate or very cool or very well performed live. And we try to take that theatrical aspect of things and put it into the stunts. So if we can make you believe that the stuntmen are really being hit by cars and shot and thrown off of things or lit on fire, that's great for us. But it does have a flip side to that. I can only really do that if I have a performer, if I have my Fred Astaire, if you have your Buster Keaton. You need somebody to actually be performing that to help, with the sleight of hand of everything we're doing. We need our lead dancer to do all the stunts, to do the choreography. So that takes memory, that takes skill, it takes time, it takes dedication. It's not coming in and out of the gym for an hour a day, it's going in and out of the gym 6 to 8 hours a day, and then going home and doing your homework from there and coming back in and doing it day after day. I'm sure it's very fun for most people for the first week, maybe a little even into the second week. By the 16th week, it's probably not as enjoyable to keep it up and keep that level of intensity going. So you need somebody with that kind of intensity and that kind of dedication. I was talking to Keanu about this, about how we saw the world expanding, whether it was through our TV show or anime or other features. And I think he put it best when, if you're looking at the world like this, if you're watching John Wick do something, if you just pan the camera over a little bit, what's the parallel stories happening at all these continuous timelines? And I think, if you're watching John Wick 3, as that's going on, you just pan the camera a little bit over and you get to watch someone else doing it. Because you're not trying to spin off the John Wick character. You're not trying to just have a different universe or a different storyline. These are all continuous stories in this wacky, crazy, wonderful world of, Shambara films, wuxia films, modern day Westerns, fantasy films all rolled into the John Wick universe. And again, you're just pulling the camera back to what we're already doing, and you get to see different aspects that we didn't get to, or that John Wick, at least in the films, didn't get to explore. So for us, it's nothing but opportunity and fun to try other things and to try characters doing the same, mold of action, but not having the John Wick storyline or having to complete or get out or all these. So it gives us different character arcs. It's always funny when you talk about your work. You never why people like it. Keanu and I just try to make a movie with things that we like in it. So if you like, fantasy-esque action, if you like martial arts, if you like music, if you like, museums, and if you like this subversive world with subtext and mythology, if you like diving in and seeing, I would say some little crazier than average action, like you're gonna like it. If you like seeing storytelling from kind of a different perspective that's not, I would say, the norm, then yeah, I think you'd like Ballerina. And of course, Ana de Armas, she brings something fresh to a world that we already had. She brings a certain energy, she brings a naivety, she brings, I don't know, that new fresh perspective into the world. It's like, we're already in Wonderland, and now you get to see Alice go into it, and you get to follow her through it, and you get that wonderment that someone going in for the first time would have. I think coming from a background in the stunt community, you get exposed to a lot of different specialists. We have our car specialist, our horse specialist, our rigging specialist, our fire specialist, and there's so many different aspects that we just haven't had time to do in a John Wick film because we have so many other things to do. That is always on our list of things to do with this massive fire sequence. We wanted to do a gun fu fight with flamethrowers. When Len and the guys came to us about, we want to do this in an alpine village, we're like, well, this makes sense to try to put it in. And we did some tests to make sure that we could do it safely, and design a flamethrower propellant rig and the safety gear necessary to withstand prolonged exposure to flamethrowers for our stunt team. And after the test, we're like, okay, great. We did our fire hose and we did our flamethrower. And the result was, in person with no digital enhancement was very impressive. So we thought that would be a good third act elevation to the action. Pretty fucking amazing. Ana de Armas is so fucking awesome that I can barely contain myself. I think one of the most impressive things about Ballerina is Ana de Armas and what she brings to it, both with character and the subtlety. It's a fresh perspective between the complete dedication to the training to all those little micro tweaks to the character so that you can have a little naivety, you can have this great introduction to the John Wick world with this, again, you see Anna's character and she's a little blown away by what's going on. So we're learning about the world with her, and I think that brings a whole new fresh perspective to the John Wick universe.
Winston and Sharon were like the two rocks or whatever. They go back with John way back. I think the two characters that they really needed were those two characters. Because it's the same, not the same storyline, but there's a similarity, I think, in how Winston met John in the first place, in a different, because he and both Wick and Eva Macaro, I'll call them now John and Eva. John and Eva, I think there was some similarities of how he met them. He perhaps rescued them from some family dynamic, from this family, the Ruska Roma, or is he part of Ruska Roma? And now in this one, when you start off with Winston and meet when she's an 8-9-year-old kid, and he's been, I think, for the last 20 years or whatever, waiting for her to turn up. He knows she'll turn up at one point, and then he's determined that he'll help her. She knows he will, within the rules and the consequences of the high table, and all its machinations, and of the franchise itself. And that's part of the reason why I think people like it and love the films a lot. I love doing it, the movies. I've had a great time. Long may they continue. He gives her the information, but then it's like the classic. He says, I would, of course, advise you not to. I'd advise you to. But it gives her the information of where somebody's staying in another hotel, where she wants to know, does he know anything about this cult? But then she, of course, has what every character has to have in a film like this, which is free will. And he knows that she'll completely disobey him, or what his advice. But when she comes back again, she's safe harbor. I always call Winston the Wick Whisperer. He's the keeper of secrets. He knows whatever goes on. But within the world, nobody knows where he fits. I mean, it's interesting, and I keep it that way. You know a little about him, you know something about him, but there's no need to know everything, you know? I think she was relieved to sit down and have a chat for a while. She'd been kicking ass in Prague for about 3 weeks when we finally did the scene together, you know, the scene and the long scene in the middle when she comes to see him. No, I think, you know, Ana was a great choice for this. Apart from having worked with Keanu before, she did that turn in that Bond movie as Paloma, which was, you know, caused an impression. Because people can say, when she come back in the movie, she never did. Well, now she's got a whole movie to herself, Ballerina, and she handles herself beautifully, you know, I think. The action sequences are always great to watch. But Keanu pushes himself, which is, we've got to. He wants it to be right, wants it to be as perfect as you can be, you know. And she's the same way. She learned from, you know, she carried on the tradition. That's one more. And she looks at ease doing it. This is like fully fledged story within a larger story. So I think it fits in perfectly. And the fact that I think they'll want next time, they'll want to see them together. Films of this largeness have to be, and quality, because care is taken by, you know, I mean, everybody forgets afterwards the care that goes into making a movie when you finished it. The color grading, the sound, you know, the setting of it, the editing, as I said, the grading, the thing, and the preparing it for the cinema. So, yeah, it's really good. You should watch it.
It was really cool after John Wick 4 to have the opportunity to put the suit back on and to have some fun. You know, I love John Wick, and it was, you know, I only worked for a couple of weeks. I had about 8-10 days. But yeah, it was really special to play the role again. Yeah, Ana's intensity, yeah, she was really focused. You know, I really... You know, I've done a few films with her, and just as soon as we got into training, I saw her focus and her talent, and what was cool to see was that she was having fun. Like that while we were training and doing it, it was, you know, it was nice to see that she was enjoying it, you know. And then when we would get the choreography together, to see her shift into her next gear, you know, like, wow, and go, was really cool to see. Yeah, I mean, you know, seeing, you know, training with Ana and then getting to the scenes that we have, you know, if we use this word toughness, I mean, making movies is tough, but it's so much fun. You know, her character is you know, she's lost some of her family, you know, and she's trapped in a world. But what's interesting about the character to me is that she wants to do, but she doesn't know what she's actually saying yes to. So there's an innocence to the character, but a strong passion. And in a way, kind of still fighting in the same way that John Wick was for a kind of freedom, you know, to get outside of the forces and that are impacting her life. She's a wonderful actress, so talented, and her, you know, that core strength, that core being able to kind of draw that up and to show that, and what was cool to see her do that physically, but also just in the stillness, you know, in the scenes that we had together. She's quite a presence. We had a lot of fun. You know, the film Knock Knock is basically kind of, well, it's a home invasion film with a twist in terms of what the plot is. And, you know, it kind of speaks to Ana's range in that she can do comedy, drama, action. You know, there's really not anything she can't do. It was really fun to, you know, she tortures me and it was fun to play, you know. It was fun she's a total pro, and with that comes trust and freedom, and you get to just, you know, try stuff out. You know, you can do improvisation, you're in the moment, you know, you're basically playing, you know, acting tennis. You know, here you go. Oh, that's what you're doing. Okay, then here you go. And Knock Knock is a really good example of that. In terms of like preparing for the choreography and for the fight sequences, it was very familiar to me as a kind of John Wick kind of process, because I was working with Jackson Spidell, who had doubled me and then had since moved on to choreography. Yeah, I mean, she had already been training for a while when I got there. I was kind of like the salty veteran, like, you know, warm up, like, okay, let's go. What's the choreography? And then she was like, dang, 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 dang. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And then, so it was, yeah, you learn the choreography, do some training. Ana's got a real good, you know, once someone says action, she's there. She's like, let's go. And so that was cool. Yeah, I mean, one of the cool things for me about being part of Ballerina is that it does kind of open up. You're getting to see more than, you know, you see this kind of corridor or rooms or characters. And with Ballerina, they, you know, we have Winston's back and Sharon and John Wick, but you're also getting to meet new characters and, you know, a little Anjelica Huston's back, so a little bit more about the Ruska Roma, diving into, you know, how is the training, what is the culture, and then you're also meeting new hierarchies and new, you know, people with power. So you're meeting new characters and going into different rooms and kind of, you know, if it was a video game, you'd just be going, it's like open world. Like you can go like, okay, now we're going to go over here into Ballerina land. And so it was cool to be a part of expanding that world. I guess it's a little bit more about the family lineages, a little bit more about controlling towns, cities. What does it look like? Who's a part of it? What are the tendrils of the family? What do they want? The whys, a bit of it. So, I mean, it is focused that way, so you'll come to learn a little bit more about the history, heritage, and what it looks like. Yeah, Len Wiseman's a cool cat. You know, I had seen some of his Underworld films and really appreciated those. You know, I really appreciated how he was really sensitive to kind of taking the baton and being respectful but appreciative, but also wanting to do his own kind of things in the John Wick world. Yeah, he's lovely director, had a vision, and which I appreciate, you know, and you know, his action experience, and yeah, and I really appreciated how much he worked on the script and trying to get all of the scenes and the characters and their voices kind of in the world, but also doing his own take on it. Yeah, so Ballerina takes place when John Wick is basically traveling to the desert in John Wick 4. So it's kind of post John Wick 3, Bowery King off the roof, and kind of Bowery King and starting his journey that we learn in John Wick 4. So this is something that, from when I looked at it for my character, kind of takes place in that period of time. It's cool. He kind of gets called to do a mission, and he doesn't really have a lot of choice, but of course he subverts what they are asking him to do. John Wick has a kind of knowledge of Ana's character, Eve, her past, and is sensitive to that. He tries to warn her a bit about the road she's going down, the path she is taking. But youth, sometimes they don't listen. I'm just really, it's, you know, it's cool. I never thought, you know, when I started this journey with this role in these films, or the film, to be here over 10 years later, and had the opportunity to play the character multiple times, and it's been exciting to see the story continue, and I'm excited to see where it can go, but I'm really excited to see where it is, and hopefully people enjoy it.
Anna and I, when we first got a chance to really dive into it, there was a lot to explore with the Rosca Roma in terms of, we see it in chapter 3. So there was a lot of fun layers to go through of what it would be like for somebody to start from the beginning and kind of work their way through Rosca Roma with the training, and what that process is to actually get into the world. There was a lot of conversation with about what kind of like woman she is, and wanting to make sure that she also had her own voice. There was, with it being John Wick, wanting to really create a character that stands on her own, isn't any, not wanting to like replicate what John Wick does. She's on a quest, but it's the action that she's involved in is much more of just surviving through the fights whilst killing the people that are coming after her. But it creates a different kind of action and a different kind of flavor for what the sequences are that is very different language than John Wick. I gotta say, for a director, Ana was absolutely the best. It takes so much dedication, such discipline, but also the energy. I don't think a lot of people realize how much training, how much hard work it really is to, when you see actors talking about doing their own, fighting and stunts and such, especially for this kind of movie. This kind of movie they're much longer takes, and the choreography is so specific, and she was wonderful with it. When, she would just, when we'd start to work out stuff, she's like, is this gonna be me? Is this gonna be me? I hope this is me. And when you see that somebody is becoming just one of the stunt team, and your actress feels like one of the stunt team, for a movie like this is incredible. One, it's fun. It's fun to kind of have her like see how she has to be clever to find something, make it into a weapon. It is a bit more scrappy trying to survive through these opponents. There's a weapons montage in the movie. And I wanted to do that specifically so that we're gonna team up. All right, she's got the artillery, she's got the support, and it just gets wiped out and she doesn't get to use any of it. And then we're suddenly kind of in the mountains going, what is she gonna do now? You go, okay, she's gonna use ice skates. Then what would that be like if she goes into a shed on the lakefront? They're fighting on the ice. That's difficult because they're slipping around, and it becomes this whole sequence that then is different. It's fun. I had a lot of fun with that. It's very brutal. It's very realistic, but it has a fun wit kind of subtext to it. And so you're watching it, it's really kind of violent even. And you are also smiling at the same time because it has a cleverness that you're smiling through the pain. I'd say, what they should look forward to, it expands in so many ways. And the world is so layered in terms of its mythology, and we get the chance to go in such a different perspective that we haven't seen before, because John's story that we've been following is a character that has essentially already been in and is looking to get out. So if you take it from a perspective of a character that is looking to get in, there's so much about that world that hasn't been explored, that we've had such a fun time building out what it would be like for that journey. So there's so much that is gonna be new, and the thing that was important to me was to have the tone that is really so signature to the series, but it's such a whole new adventure that she goes on.
At each other, and we hit it off, and I knew it was going to go down how it went down. But she's so dedicated to her performance, to memorizing the choreography with a ferocity. There's you can memorize it and go through the motions, and then you can really like fight through it, and she had a very determined attitude through all of it, and you know, from point A to point B, there's all these things happening, but she's coming at you. So she's I really loved watching her work. I liked hanging out with her offset. But yet she, you know, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, you got to bring it. She's bringing it. Everybody's bringing it. You got to bring it. You're sort of stepping into an Olympic level of fight coordination. So you want to be the best you can. It was very impressive to watch her work. She's a badass. Their stories sort of parallel each other in a way. She's fighting everyone for a revenge, and Daniel's fighting everyone to protect the innocence of his little girl. So they're kind of on the same playing field when they meet. He's hiding in the hotel where you're not allowed to fight, but the money to cash in if you can kill him is raising through the roof. So he just automatically assumes anyone that comes through the door is fair game. But when they first meet, he's like, "What do you want?" And then he's like, "Can you please help me?" It's kind of a godsend that she shows up when she shows up for him. And then, of course, they fight their way out of there. But yeah, I you know, it was kind of you know, two storms meeting and then combining into a very large storm to get out of that building. So yeah, she was definitely an angel sent to help him. There's a lot of fun weapons in this. A lot of things that you would normally not think of as a weapon that are used as weapons. Eve uses ice skates in a really cool way. There's grenades. There's a grenade sequence that's kind of fantastic with, you know, I love the scene when the grenade goes off, she goes behind the big metal door, boom. It's one of those worlds, the John Wick world, where they you know, you've seen Keanu do it with pencils, with library books, you know, so it's you knew going into this it was going to have very creative ways to use everyday items as weapons, you know. Yeah, which is awesome. What I like about it too is the assassins in the John Wick world, they're very honest, you know. They're like, "Hey, so you working?" "Yeah, I'm working." "How's the wife?" "She's great." "Okay." And then they go kill each other. There's something very honest and cool about that. It's very, it's the only franchise I think that does that. It's like, "Hey, how you been? You working today?" "Yep, I'm working." You know, it's kind of great. Well, I think, you know, these movies, you kind of start off in first and you go boom, 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 up to fourth, and it just stays in fourth gear the whole time. It just doesn't slow at all. There's no moments in between. It's just bang, 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 that it's such a exhilarating ride. You know, it's like a roller coaster, just nonstop.